Hi there, Chem 1012X40. This is Mr. Dion. I'll be your instructor this summer, and in this video I'm just going to go over a little bit of how the course works, and I'll talk about the syllabus a little bit, where you can find the textbook, and how to navigate D2L, just to help you out a little bit as you get started in this class. And so if you logged into D2L, you should have seen this announcement come up right away. It says, "Welcome to Chem 1012 Online." And this announcement tells you exactly what you need to get done this week. So you're going to have to go through the syllabus and schedule. There's 2 exercises on the Science Interactive site. And Science Interactive is where we complete our labs. They're done, you complete them at home, but you actually fill out the lab online. And there's 2 exercises that you don't need the lab kit for: the Getting Started in Lab Safety, and I'll talk about those more in a little bit. So those are due by May 30th. You also have some prep quizzes that are due. There's one for Chapter 10 due on the 28th of May, and one for Chapter 11 due on the 30th of May. These are just very quick quizzes, about 5 questions, just to kind of test your prior knowledge of the material. And it's usually based on things that you would have learned in Chemistry 1011. So an introductory chemistry class, the one that you would need to enter into this class. Then you also have a couple of homework assignments. Homework 10 is coming up on May 30th, and homework 11 will be due on June 5th. And so you can see that during this first week, you're going to be focusing on chapters 10 and 11. And I even mentioned exam 1, but I'll post an announcement about exam 1 later on. And I even have a practice exam for exam 1 that you can work on if you want to. But before we start navigating a little bit more of D2L, let's take a look at the syllabus and schedule. All right, so here's our syllabus. You can see here the course is Chemistry 1012X40. The dates are May 27th to August 2nd, and the semester is summer 2025. All right, my name is Mr. Dion. My email is here, and if you want to contact me, you can email me or you can use the messaging feature in D2L. Either one is fine. I try to answer within 24 hours. If you really want to speak to me over Zoom or FaceTime or something like that, let me know and we can organize a time to talk by either of those or Microsoft Teams or something like that. Information about the department chair is shown here. Some important dates that you want to remember are the census date, and that is the date by which you can withdraw and get all your money back, is June 5th. And the withdraw date, and this is the date where you could withdraw and get a W on your transcript, is July 22nd. All right. Anyhow, prerequisites are shown here, and our required course materials. The first thing you need is the textbook, and the textbook is available online. The link is in D2L, and the textbook that we use is a really, really great textbook. It's written by Catherine Deniston, and it's General Organic and Biochemistry 11th edition. And so you can see she's been publishing this book for a while. And let me show you where to find that. So here we are on our homepage in D2L. And so if you click on content here, so I'm going to click on content. And after we click on content, it should load up. And you can see here on the right-hand side, we have textbook. So I'm just going to click the link for the textbook. And it's going to open up this link that says General Organic and Biochemistry Deniston, and so I'm going to click on that, and that enables me to access the textbook. Now, we're actually starting in Chapter 10, so I'll go over to Chapter 10 here, okay? And so I expect you to read the entire chapter, okay? So the first week you're going to want to read through Chapters 10 and 11, even Chapter 12 if you have time. And what's great about this textbook is that she really doesn't waste a lot of time in this textbook. She gets to the heart of the matter, goes over what you need to know, and doesn't spend too much time, talking about extraneous topics or anything. So you can see all the information is here, and you can see there's questions, practice questions like question 10.1, 10.2. We scroll down, we keep reading, we're reading. There's question 10.3 and 10.4. And what's kind of cool about the textbook is once you get to the end of a chapter, so this is the end of Chapter 10, she has a chapter map where she goes over a lot of the concepts. And then after that, she'll give you always a summary of reactions and a summary of the chapter. So students will often ask me, Mr. Dion, do you have a summary? Well, the textbook provides an excellent summary, and you can see that the questions keep going. So you'll notice that if you go back up here into the text, you'll notice that the text ended at question 10.8, but then once you get to the practice problems at the end of the chapter, they start on question 10.9, then 10.10, 10.11, 10.12. You can see here 10.13, 10.14, 10.15, 10.16, etc., etc. So if you're wondering, should I do all of these questions? The short answer is almost all of them. And so in order for you to know which questions you should attempt, let me show you what you can do. Go back here into content on the D2L page, and you'll see here suggested practice problems from Denniston 11th edition. And what I've done is I've actually gone through the textbook and I've handpicked all of the questions that I deem the most pertinent to our class. So if you click on this link, you're going to open up this file, and you can see here in chapter 10, I recommend that you do, instead of writing 10.3, 10.5, 10.6, I just wrote down 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 15, 17, 21, 23, etc., etc. And so these are the questions that I recommend that you do for chapters 10 and 11. And if you're looking at these and saying, well, that's a lot of questions, the answer is yes, it is a lot of questions. And you probably also noticed that I've chosen a lot of odd-numbered problems. There's a good reason for that too. If we go back to the textbook and you go back to the index of the textbook, you'll notice that she gives you the answers to the odd-numbered questions and problems. And so that's why I mostly picked questions that are odd-numbered. So we're obviously starting on chapter 10. So if we scroll down here to chapter 10, you can see here she has the answers to questions 10.1, 10.2, 10.1, 10.3, 10.5. And so the solutions, not just the answers, but the solutions to a lot of these problems are shown here. And so again, that's why I recommend working through all of those practice problems. Okay, so back to our syllabus. You also need a lab kit. If you open up D2L, you'll notice that there'll be a pop-up window that appears asking you for your address. This is the shipping address that you need to enter so that the college can send you your lab kit. You'll also find that there's a link on the course homepage page on the top right where you can enter your address. But either way, when you're prompted to enter your address, make sure you do that as soon as possible, and make sure it's not a P.O. box. Make sure it's a physical address where a lab kit can be delivered to you. And then lab kits are sent to students after the census date. So they're not sent right away. They're sent after the census date. Now, when you get your lab kit, you're going to have to do a lab kit inventory. And once you log into Science Interactive and complete the Getting Started and Laboratory Safety exercises, you'll see the lab kit inventory exercises there as well. This being an online course, of course, you need access to the internet. So make sure you have a good internet connection in order to take this class. And ways to be successful in Chemistry 10-12 are shown here. And I'm going to let all of you read that on your own time. But to summarize, what you want to do in this class in order to be successful are, number one, you want to read the chapter in the textbook, do the prep quizzes in D2L. Again, these are only 5 questions long, usually very, very short. Then you want to go to class. You'll notice that I've posted YouTube videos that cover almost every bit of content in this class. Not everything, but I'd say greater than 90% of the content. Now, if you're wondering, where do I find these lecture videos? Well, let's go back to the D2L page. And so here we are on the D2L page. If we click on content, and let's start with chapter 10. So we'll find here chapter 10, the saturated hydrocarbons. I always give you a little bit of an introduction here at the beginning. I post the lecture slides are here. Okay, and these are the lecture slides that I used for my YouTube videos. And then to watch the videos, you can see I've broken them up into different parts. We have section 10.1 and 10.2, 10.3, 10.4 to 10.6. There's a little bit of nomenclature work here, functional group work as well. And so to watch the videos, all you have to do is click on the links and it will open up the video and you can start watching that video right there. And so the lecture videos are what I call going to class. All right, so also you want to do all the suggested practice problems. I showed you where to find those on D2L. If you have any questions regarding the course content, of course, you can always email me or you could use the messaging feature on D2L. But I also have a place where students can post their questions under the discussions tab on D2L. Let me show you where that is. So here we are back on D2L's homepage. If you look at discussions and click on discussions, you can see I have this thing here that's called course content questions. And if you click on this, you can enter any kind of question. Everybody can see it, but you can ask me any questions you want about the course. And then if you have any questions about the lab, put them in the lab questions discussion. Next, you're going to want to complete the D2L time chapter homework. And if you're wondering, where do I find the homework and where do I find the prep quizzes? Well, let me show you where you find those. And so all homework and prep quizzes and exams are all found under the quizzes tab. And so when I click on the quizzes tab, it's going to look a little bit different since I'm your instructor. But you click on the quiz tab and you can see the chapter 10 prep quiz link is here. The chapter 10 homework link is here. The chapter 11 prep quiz link is here. And the chapter 11 homework is here as well. And all the due dates are found on here. So always go by the due dates that are found under the quizzes tab on D2L. After that, you're going to have to take your exam. And I usually post a practice exam, which can also be found under the quizzes tab in D2L. Labs, we're not going to worry about those so much the first week. But of course, you need to enter your address so that you can get your lab kit sent to you. And you're going to want to complete the labs. And I'll show you what the labs are in just a little bit. Complete discussions. Again, I'm not going to worry about that on the first day of class, but we'll talk more about discussions later. And then you just repeat that. And so every week, you can be sure that I will post an announcement that tells you exactly which chapters we're covering and exactly what assignments are going to be due that week. Students often want to know, where do I get my grades for this class? And so you can see that a lot of your grade comes from what I call the lecture portion. We have a total of 14 prep quizzes. Those are worth 5%. Then you have 13 homework quizzes. Those are worth 10%. 5 discussions, exams, which are worth 30%. And then you have a final exam, which is worth 15%. As far as the lab goes, you have the submission of proof of receipt of lab kit. So this is just something that you fill out very quickly to prove that you actually got the lab kit. And we can talk about that more later on. I'll post an announcement about that later. There's the getting started exercise and the laboratory safety exercise. Very quick, very easy to complete. There's not actually 12 labs this semester. There's actually only 8 labs, I believe, this semester. So I'm just going to fix that. And I'll update it on D2L. But you need to complete your labs, and that's where your grades come from. And so you want to make sure that you print out a copy of this page, which has our schedule. And you can see here the course is 10 weeks. And you can see that in the first week, week number 1, we're covering chapters 10 and 11. In week 2, we're going to be covering chapter 12. And in week 3, we're going to be covering chapter 13 and 14, etc. So you see that this class moves very quickly, and we have 5 exams. So you have an exam almost every other week in this class. So the class moves very, very quickly. So you want to stay up to date, and you want to work on this class every single day. Next, we have the lab schedule. Again, like I told you, the getting started and laboratory safety exercises, those are due right away. Those are due on May 30th. You do not need to have a lab kit to do those. You just need to create your account in Science Interactive, and you can get started on those. Now, if you're wondering, how do I access the lab materials? Well, if you click on Content and you scroll down, you're going to see the lab starts here after the lecture slides. You've got Lab 0, which has the getting started in laboratory safety. And so when you click on that link, it's going to take you to a place where you can create an account on Science Interactive, and you can get started on these exercises right away. Then your lab kits aren't sent out until after the census date. And so our first real lab that requires the lab kit is Lab 1. That's going to be due on June 20th. And then Lab 2 is going to be due on June 27th, etc., etc. Back to the getting started in laboratory safety exercises. Again, if you click on the link for the getting started, for example, it's going to open up a new tab. It's going to look something like this. And then you just work through the test your knowledge, the exploration. Then you work through the experimentation and through the evaluation. And everything is completed on the cloud. There's nothing that you need to submit for the lab on D2L. And so I haven't covered the entirety of the syllabus in this video, but I expect you to read the entire thing yourself. And then, of course, contact me if you have any questions.